fame, fortune, and millions of screaming fans, but behind the flashing lights, a deadly darkness was waiting. These 15 stars had everything the world could offer, until drugs, alcohol, and addiction dragged them into scandal, ruin, and tragedy. Some survived. Others never escaped. What happened next will shock you and prove that one dangerous choice can destroy an entire life. Number 1. DMX. DMX had the voice, the fury, and the kind of stage presence that could shake an entire arena. Born Earl Simmons, he rose from a brutal childhood to become one of the most powerful and unforgettable rappers of his generation. Millions knew his name, his albums dominated the charts, and his raw, explosive lyrics turned pain into anthems. But behind the fame, a deadly enemy was already tightening its grip. According to DMX, his nightmare began when someone he trusted handed him a cigarette, secretly laced with cocaine. That single moment opened the door to decades of addiction, arrests, rehabilitation, and relapse. No matter how high he climbed, the darkness kept pulling him back. His success could not silence the cravings, and his fortune could not buy him freedom. Then, on the night of April 2nd, 2021, the danger finally caught up with him. DMX suffered a massive heart attack at home after a lethal combination of substances, alcohol, and serious health complications overwhelmed his body. He was rushed to the hospital, but the damage was catastrophic. His brain, lungs, kidneys, and liver began shutting down. Days later, at only 50 years old, one of hip-hop's fiercest voices was gone, leaving behind a terrifying warning that addiction does not care how famous, talented, or powerful you are. Number 2. Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston had the kind of voice that seemed almost impossible, powerful, flawless, and capable of stopping an entire room in silence. She sold more than 220 million records, collected countless awards, and became one of the most celebrated singers in music history. To the world, she looked untouchable. But behind the glamorous gowns, sold-out concerts, and blinding camera flashes, a dangerous secret was slowly consuming her. By the late 1980s and 1990s, disturbing signs began to appear. Her behavior became increasingly unpredictable. Her appearance changed, and rumors of drug use followed her everywhere. Cocaine had entered her life, and over time, the addiction grew stronger than the fame surrounding her. The woman whose voice once represented strength and perfection was now trapped in a private battle she could not control. Then came the horrifying final chapter. On February 11, 2012, Whitney was found unconscious and submerged in a bathtub at the Beverly Hilton Hotel. Investigators later determined that she had drowned, with heart disease and cocaine use contributing to her death. The drug had reportedly been used shortly before she entered the water. At only 48 years old, one of the greatest voices the world had ever heard was suddenly silenced. Her tragic death became a chilling reminder that addiction can hide behind beauty, success, and applause, waiting for the moment when no one is there to save you. Number 3. Rick James. Rick James was wild, fearless, and electrifying, a funk superstar who seemed born to live under flashing lights. When his breakthrough album Come Get It exploded onto the scene in 1978, hits like You and I turned him into one of music's most unforgettable performers. He had fame, money, and an unstoppable stage presence. But behind the outrageous costumes and non-stop parties, a deadly habit was quietly taking control. As his career climbed higher, Rick became trapped in a dangerous world of cocaine, alcohol, sleepless nights, and reckless excess. What began as entertainment soon became a full-scale addiction. He later admitted that he was spending thousands of dollars every week just to feed the cravings. The drugs were no longer helping him perform, they were destroying the man behind the music. His health began collapsing under the pressure. diabetes, strokes, heart problems, and years of substance abuse turned his glamorous lifestyle into a race against death. Friends watched his behavior grow more unpredictable, while legal trouble and personal chaos followed him everywhere. Then, on August 6, 2004, the party ended forever. Rick James was found dead inside his Los Angeles home at only 56 years old. An autopsy discovered 9 different substances in his body. Although no single drug was officially ruled fatal, the damage from years of excess had already been done. The super freak had conquered the charts, but he could not escape the dangerous world that fame helped create. Number 4. Samuel L. Jackson. Today, Samuel L. Jackson is one of the most recognizable and successful actors in Hollywood. His commanding voice, explosive energy, and unforgettable performances have made him a global icon. But long before the blockbuster movies and red carpet fame, Jackson was fighting a dangerous private war, one that nearly destroyed his family, his career, and his future. During the late 1970s and 1980s, as he struggled to survive in a brutally competitive industry, Jackson turned to alcohol and drugs. Financial pressure, unpaid bills, depression, and professional disappointment pushed him deeper into addiction. What began as an escape slowly became a trap. He continued acting, but behind the scenes, his life was spinning out of control. The terrifying wake-up call came in 1991. After returning home intoxicated from a party, Jackson collapsed unconscious on the kitchen floor. His wife discovered him surrounded by drug paraphernalia and realized the situation had reached a deadly breaking point. She demanded that he get help. Jackson entered rehabilitation and finally confronted the addiction that had controlled him for years. Unlike many stars on this list, he escaped before it was too late. He later admitted that drugs and alcohol had limited his talent and damaged valuable years of his career. His survival proves that even in Hollywood's darkest corners, recovery is possible, but only when someone chooses to fight before the final curtain falls. Number 5. Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye was the smooth, soulful voice behind some of the most unforgettable songs in American music. His talent made him a legend, his records inspired generations, and his success turned him into one of Motown's brightest stars. But behind the romantic melodies and polished image, Marvin was trapped in a dangerous world of cocaine, depression, fear, and growing paranoia. According to the article, his drug use began in the 1960s and became far more serious by the late 1970s. He entered treatment more than once, but every attempt at recovery was followed by another relapse. As the addiction tightened its grip, his behavior became increasingly unpredictable. He reportedly became convinced that people were plotting to kill him and began wearing a bulletproof vest almost everywhere he went. The music continued, but the man behind it was falling apart. Anxiety, family conflict, and substance abuse pushed him closer to a deadly breaking point. Then, on April 1, 1984, tragedy exploded inside his own home. After a heated argument with his father, Marvin Gaye was shot and killed just one day before his 45th birthday. Traces of cocaine were later found in his system. One of soul music's greatest voices did not die on a dangerous street or inside a nightclub. He died at home surrounded by the fear, conflict, and darkness that had followed him for years. Number 6. Lamar Odom. Lamar Odom had everything a basketball star could dream of. NBA fame, championship, rings, millions of fans, and a place beside legends like Kobe Bryant. With the Los Angeles Lakers, he helped capture back-to-back championships in 2009 and 2010, then earned 6th Man of the Year honors in 2011. On the court, he looked powerful and unstoppable. But away from the arena, a deadly addiction was quietly tearing his life apart. Behind the trophies and celebrity lifestyle, Lamar was losing control. Drugs became more than an escape. They became a dangerous force that damaged his marriage, his judgment, and eventually his career. His personal life spiraled into chaos, and those closest to him were forced to witness his collapse. Then came the night that nearly killed him. On October 13th, 2015, Lamar was found unconscious after suffering a drug overdose at a Nevada brothel. His body began shutting down. He experienced kidney failure, multiple heart attacks, and 12 strokes before falling into a coma. Doctors placed him on a ventilator as his family prepared for the worst. Against all odds, Lamar survived. But the damage was devastating. His marriage was over, his professional basketball career had disappeared, and his life would never be the same. He had once dominated the court under roaring lights, only to wake up fighting for every breath in a hospital bed. Number 7. Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor could make an audience laugh until they cried, but behind the spotlight, his own life was becoming a terrifying tragedy. Widely regarded as one of the greatest comedians of all time, Pryor won an Emmy, 5 Grammys, and influenced generations with his fearless, brutally honest humor. Yet while his career was exploding, cocaine, alcohol, and cigarettes were quietly turning his success into a dangerous nightmare. By the late 1970s, Pryor's addiction had grown so severe that his behavior became unpredictable and self-destructive. Friends and collaborators began pulling away as legal trouble, financial problems, and broken relationships surrounded him. His wife, Jennifer Lee, later said cocaine had become more important to him than anything else. No warning argument or act of love seemed powerful enough to compete with the drug. The damage soon reached his body. In 1977, at only 36 years old, Pryor suffered his first heart attack. But even that terrifying warning could not completely stop the destructive cycle. A second heart attack followed in 1990. Then, on December 10, 2005, the laughter finally ended. Richard Pryor died after suffering a third heart attack at his Los Angeles home. Years of smoking, drinking, and addiction had taken their toll. The man who made millions laugh spent much of his life fighting a darkness that almost no one in the audience could see. Number 8. T.I. T. built his reputation on survival. Born Clifford Joseph Harris Jr., he rose from the dangerous streets of Atlanta to become one of hip-hop's biggest stars, known for his sharp lyrics, commanding presence, and fearless image. But behind the fame and success, a hidden addiction was pulling him toward another kind of prison. Early in life, T.I. was exposed to drug dealing, illegal substances, and the violent risks that came with street life. Years later, after serving time on weapons-related charges, he faced a new threat. Following painful dental surgeries, he was prescribed powerful painkillers. At first, they seemed like relief. Then the relief became dependence, and the dependence became a dangerous habit. The same man who had survived the streets and the justice system was now fighting something he could not intimidate, outrun, or talk his way out of. Prescription drugs began controlling his decisions and threatening everything he had built his career, freedom, and family. Unlike many stars whose stories ended in tragedy, T.I. managed to pull himself back. He confronted the addiction and eventually overcame it. In the years that followed, he began using his experience to speak about recovery and the need to treat addiction as a health crisis, not simply a crime. T.I.'s story proves that danger does not always come from a gun or a dark alley. Sometimes it comes inside a legal bottle with your own name printed on the label. Number 9. Michael K. Williams. Michael K. Williams became unforgettable the moment he appeared as Omar Little in The Wire. With a scar across his face, a shotgun in his hands, and a chilling whistle echoing through the streets, he created one of television's most feared and respected characters. Hollywood praised his talent, audiences admired his intensity, and success seemed to follow him everywhere. But behind the powerful performances, Williams was fighting a private battle that was becoming increasingly dangerous. The emotional weight of playing dark, violent characters began to follow him off-screen. Depression, anxiety, and the pressure of fame pushed him toward drugs as a way to escape. What began as temporary relief slowly turned into dependence. Even while his career continued to rise, addiction was quietly taking control of his life. Williams later spoke openly about seeking treatment and trying to protect his mental health. But on September 6, 2021, the danger reached its final point. His nephew found him dead inside his Brooklyn apartment. The medical examiner determined that he had suffered a fatal overdose involving a mixture of several powerful substances. Michael K. Williams was only 54. He had survived dangerous streets, personal pain, and years of struggle, but one deadly combination ended everything. His death became a brutal reminder that the most terrifying battles are often the ones no audience can see. Number 10. D'Angelo. D'Angelo seemed destined to rule R&B. With albums like Brown Sugar and Voodoo, his smooth voice, raw emotion, and magnetic stage presence turned him into one of the most celebrated artists of the 1990s. Fans saw a confident superstar. But behind the image, the pressure was becoming unbearable, and something dangerous was beginning to grow. As the public became obsessed with his appearance, D'Angelo felt increasingly trapped by fame. The endless attention, exhausting tours, and impossible expectations began crushing his mental health. After one grueling 8-month tour, he told his bandmates he wanted to disappear into the woods, drink, grow a beard, and gain weight. Then he vanished from the spotlight. Isolation soon became a doorway to alcohol and drugs. What began as a way to escape the stress spiraled into addiction. Arrests, damaged relationships, and a near-fatal car crash in 2005. The man once praised as the future of soul music was suddenly fighting just to survive. But D'Angelo's story did not end in a hotel room or hospital morgue. After years in the darkness, he returned in 2014 with Black Messiah. His comeback proved that addiction nearly destroyed him, but it did not get the final word. Number 11. Pimp C. Pimp C was more than a rapper. He was one half of UGK, the legendary Southern hip-hop duo that helped reshape an entire generation of music. Alongside Bun B, he delivered hard-hitting albums like Too Hard to Swallow, Super Tight, and Ridin' Dirty. His voice was unmistakable, his influence was massive, and his future looked unstoppable. But behind the success, a dangerous addiction was moving quietly through his life. The pressure of the music industry, constant touring, and the chaos surrounding fame pushed Pimp C toward substances that promised relief. One of them was prescription-strength cough syrup, a dangerous mixture often abused for its sedating effects. What seemed like a way to slow down gradually became a deadly habit. Then, on the morning of December 4th, 2007, everything went silent. Pimp C was found unresponsive inside a hotel room in West Hollywood. Emergency workers arrived, but it was already too late. He was pronounced dead at only 33 years old. His death was linked to an overdose involving cough syrup, made even more dangerous by sleep apnea, a condition that can interrupt breathing during sleep. The same substance that made him feel relaxed may have slowed his body past the point of survival. Pimp C helped build the sound of Southern rap, but one deadly combination ended his life before he could fully witness the legacy he had created. Number 12. Nate Dogg. Nate Dogg was the voice that could turn almost any rap song into a classic. Known as the King of Hooks, his deep, smooth vocals became the heartbeat of West Coast hip-hop, appearing beside stars like Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, and Warren G. To millions of fans, he sounded calm, powerful, and untouchable. But behind that legendary voice, years of alcohol, drugs, and non-stop partying were quietly pushing his body toward disaster. Growing up around substance abuse made that dangerous lifestyle feel normal. As fame increased, drinking and drugs became part of his daily routine, damaging his health, relationships, and ability to escape the cycle. The warning signs were there, but the party continued. Then, on December 19, 2007, Nate suffered a devastating stroke. He survived after hospitalization and rehabilitation, but his body had already begun to break down. Even during recovery, according to the article, he continued struggling with alcohol and drugs. Less than a year later, on September 12, 2008, another stroke struck. This time, the damage was even more severe. Nate spent years fighting the consequences, but on March 15, 2011, his body finally gave out. He died at only 41 from complications linked to multiple strokes and congestive heart failure. The King of Hooks had helped create the soundtrack of an era, but behind the music, every drink and every dangerous choice was bringing him closer to silence. Number 13. Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg did not just become a rap superstar. He built an empire around one of the most controversial substances in America. From his music and videos to interviews and business ventures, marijuana became almost inseparable from his public image. His relaxed voice, fearless attitude, and unapologetic lifestyle made him a symbol of West Coast hip-hop. But behind the jokes and smoke clouds, one dangerous question has followed him for decades. Where does personal choice end and dependence begin? Snoop has openly discussed his cannabis use and repeatedly turned it into part of his identity, branding, and music. He has advocated for legalization and even launched his own cannabis-related business. To many fans, it is simply part of his laid-back personality. To critics, however, constantly celebrating drug use can send a risky message, especially to younger audiences who may not understand the possible consequences. Unlike many stars on this list, there is no clear evidence in the article that Snoop lost control of his life, destroyed his career, or suffered the devastating effects normally associated with severe addiction. He remained successful, productive, and highly influential. Still, his story stands out as a warning of a different kind. When a substance becomes part of a celebrity's image, it can stop looking dangerous and start looking harmless. Sometimes the greatest risk is not the collapse everyone sees, but the danger people are taught to ignore. Number 14. Lil Kim. Lil Kim became one of hip-hop's most fearless and influential women. With her provocative image, razor-sharp lyrics, and commanding presence, she shattered barriers in a male-dominated industry and built a reputation as a rap icon. But behind the designer clothes, diamond-covered confidence, and dangerous gangster persona was a young woman carrying deep insecurity, painful memories, and a growing dependence on drugs. Her struggle began long before fame. After leaving home at only 14, Lil Kim entered a harsh world filled with dealers, traffickers, and constant danger. To survive, she performed small tasks for people involved in the drug trade. Over time, substances became a way to numb fear, low self-esteem, and emotional pain. Her relationship with the notorious B.I.G. added even more chaos to her life. After his murder in 1997, the grief and pressure reportedly pushed her deeper into destructive habits. Fame continued to grow, but so did the darkness behind it. Then came the legal collapse. In 2005, Lil Kim was convicted of perjury and conspiracy after lying to a grand jury about a shooting involving people close to her. She went to prison, and when she returned, rebuilding her career proved difficult. Lil Kim survived the street's heartbreak, addiction, and incarceration, But her story reveals how quickly a glamorous image can hide a life surrounded by danger. Number 15. Lauryn Hill. Lauryn Hill was not just a singer, she was a cultural force. With a powerful voice, fearless lyrics, and more than 50 million records sold worldwide, she became one of the most influential women in music history. Her success looked unstoppable. But behind the awards, sold-out shows, and public admiration, the pressure was becoming dangerously heavy. The endless touring, impossible expectations, and constant demand to protect her image began closing in around her. By 2000, Lauryn suddenly stepped away from the spotlight. She fired her management team, stopped giving interviews, avoided television, and even stopped listening to music. To fans, it looked mysterious. Behind the scenes, however, it appeared that she was fighting a private emotional collapse. According to the original article, this period was also marked by erratic behavior connected to substance use and dependency. Fame had once opened every door for her, but now it seemed to be trapping her inside a world of isolation, stress, and instability. Unlike many stars on this list, Lauryn Hill did not disappear forever. She survived the pressure and remained one of the most respected artists of her generation. Still, her story carries a chilling warning. Sometimes, success does not destroy a person loudly. Sometimes it does it quietly, behind locked doors, unanswered calls, and complete silence. Number 16. Eddie Griffin. Eddie Griffin built his career by walking straight into danger and turning it into comedy. With his explosive energy, fearless jokes, and unforgettable roles in projects like Undercover Brother and Malcolm and Eddie, he became one of Hollywood's most recognizable comedians. On stage, he looked completely in control. But behind the laughter, late nights, non-stop pressure, and a reckless lifestyle were pulling him toward a dangerous breaking point. The entertainment world demanded constant energy, and Griffin found himself surrounded by alcohol, drugs, and endless temptation. What started as a way to relax after performances slowly became something darker. His behavior grew unpredictable, personal relationships began to suffer, and the career he had fought to build was suddenly at risk. The applause could hide the damage, but it could not stop it. Unlike many stars whose stories ended in tragedy, Griffin managed to step back before addiction took everything. He confronted the problem, escaped the destructive cycle, and began speaking openly about the dangers of substance abuse. Today, he uses his story to deliver more than punchlines. He speaks about bringing hope into despair, love into hatred, and truth into confusion. Eddie Griffin survived the darkness, but his past remains a warning that sometimes the funniest person in the room is fighting the most dangerous battle.